Yep. So I'm thinking this is going to work. All right. So you guys can hear me okay. Great. Thank you for bearing with me. So what we're going to do is just talk through the final part of the course. Congratulations. Now that we have those technical issues out of the way, we're looking really good with the final paper. We're in week 10 now, kind of just finalizing our work for the final paper, although it is early in the week. So we do have some more time still. My objective for this class is going to be pretty low key, pretty straightforward, is just to look at that final paper assignment, make sure that nobody has any questions. And then from there, if we're feeling good, I would just love to hear from you guys, your reflections and your thoughts about this class and this process. Are you feeling confident with it? Where would you like to take things in the future? Those kinds of questions. What would anybody like to share regarding the final? How's it going? Do you need anything? What are your thoughts? Hi, Sue. So sorry.
I had a quick question about the paper.
Okay, what's that?
So for the 4 outside sources that we have to use, can we use can the Bible and the Bernstein Intro to Psychology, can those be 2 of our sources?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, they can. I would say it's ideal to have 4 sources outside of the Bible. If you use the Bible, it won't be counted off. But the reason I say that is just because the Bible is a source that doesn't require the academic analysis in front of us and easily accessible, whereas if we're looking for psychological articles and academic journals, that requires some more sustained effort for the research component. So I would say if you can do 4 plus the Bible, that would be great. But the textbook definitely can count as one of those 4. Does that help? Sweet. Are you feeling okay about it so far?
Yeah, it's going. I'm starting to start writing it, so it's going for now.
Awesome. Good. How do you guys, question for you, how do you write papers? I know that I had sent some comments in the announcements about some suggestions. Do you guys like to do it over several days or even a couple of weeks, or do you do it more in a couple sittings is what I mean to say? What are your preferences?
I like to try to write my outline on one day and then on the next day come back and fill it in with actual prose and set time limits
Nice.
so that it set time limits for each paragraph, because yeah, otherwise I end up fighting the actual deadline of
Sure.
When it needs to be turned in. So
totally. Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, you do a great job writing, by the way. It's very impressed with your work. So what you're doing is working, and we're all different, right? Everybody on here, y'all have been doing a really great job. I think some people benefit from setting time limits, like you said, Joshua, and I think that can be a really useful strategy. I think that for some and maybe they go get a cup of coffee, focus, and then maybe even put the phone aside. I know that can be hard to do, but I find that I'm more productive if I do that. Just pop it up on the charger or something and really power through. That's always how I've enjoyed writing, but I think our work can become stronger and check on it and make sure that we've got the structure and that we're hitting on all the prompt points. Would you guys agree? Yeah. Raise your hand if you'd like to do it more in like 1 or 2 sittings. Joshua, yeah. Maddie, you too? Yeah. Faith, do you spread it out over time more?
I try to, like, I can write an outline in 1 sitting, and then I review the outline, and then I can write papers within, I have to do it in sittings kind of a thing. So I can come back and then revise it and do it in that way, because I can't just write it and have a paper.
Awesome. Yeah, I hear that for sure. Well, in the future, if and when you guys things like that, even if it's not a book, you might be publishing like a research study, for example. And as you probably know, it takes a very long time to do that. So experience, what I've found is if you conclude your research study in like 2017, for example, your research study probably won't be published until 2019. And that's if you keep pretty good focus on it and go in a timely fashion. And the reason is you've got to go through all these revisions, right? And so you think that your paper is looking really good and you're ready to go and you submit it. And it's the peer review process, right? So making sure that you have peer reviewed journal articles. Hi, Sierra. I think Sierra's here. Awesome. Sierra, can you hear us okay? I thought I saw that she had hopped on. So the rest of us are still there, right? You guys there? Okay, sorry about that. I think it said Sierra got on, but I'm not sure if she can hear us. I wanted to make sure that I said hi to her. Nevertheless, yeah, with the peer review process, it can take about 2 years. And no matter how good your research study is, the peers who review your study will tear it to shreds. And I hate to say it. Oh, good. Sierra can hear us. Good. Sierra, we were having a little bit of Zoom difficulty, so I'm glad you're here. So anyway, it's good practice, right? And kind of setting that time aside and moving through it. Awesome. Oh, Sierra is saying you just got your submission back. That's wonderful. Hey, in the chat or out loud, if you can, will you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm doing a kinesiology study based on how abbreviated faith-based yoga affects psychological wellness among female college students. So I had to write an IRB submission.
I have never done faith-based yoga before, but I think that sounds really cool. Your classmates while you're here about the IRB process and preparing for that research study?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I lost you.
That's okay. Is there anything you want to share with your classmates about that IRB process and prep for that research study?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty daunting to get my whole study together, make sure that I had every limitation that I could think of and every benefit and risk that I could put together. But they ended up giving me no corrections. So I guess I did my best.
Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. And if you think of it, I would love to hear how that process is going for you over time. So that's cool. Sierra, we were just hitting on any questions or thoughts that people had about the research paper and talking research writing process. So does anybody, Sierra or anybody who has anything more to share, want to talk about that before we hit on a couple career points?
To actually hop off this call really. I have to hop off and go to practice.
Maddie, thanks for coming by. It's so good to see you. And we'll wrap up by 4:30, but we will get the recording posted so then you can catch anything you missed, okay?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So good to see you. Have a good practice, okay?
Bye.
Bye, Maddie. Awesome. All right. So any questions, comments about the final before we talk about career? Okay, I have a cool thing for you guys. You might know about this already. This is called ONET. Raise your hand. I know it's Sierra, I can't see you, which is totally fine, but maybe you can pop it in the chat. Raise your hand if you've ever used ONET before. Nobody? Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do, oh good, you haven't either, so it'll be new. I'm just gonna type in psychology. So ONET is for kind of workforce labor data, and actually before we do that. So this is, if you click on what is ONET, and this is updated really frequently by governmental entities such as the U.S. Department of Labor. So in particular, you can see U.S. Department of Labor Employment and Training Administration is where this comes from, and it is through a grant and it is sponsored. So it provides real world information for us. This is career exploration. So you can look through many different occupations here on ONET to understand kind of what they entail and what kind of study you need to do something in a given field. So I just typed psychology. You could obviously use this website for any career field that you're interested in. I know that all of you might not be pursuing a career in psychology, but it's good for exploration regardless. So I'm gonna look through, let's say that I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist, because that's a really popular occupation for people who study psychology, okay? So it gives me a lot of different titles that this might fall under. It gives me a description of the role, and then it shows me what I will be doing. So these are some different tasks. And if you click on those tasks, it'll tell you other things that are closely related to that. By their feelings and behaviors, I could click on that plus sign and see, oh, that's also something that clergy member does, or something that a substance abuse social worker would do, or a career counselor. Okay, so that helps me to explore similar offerings and options. Scrolling down, these are some things that you might need to know. And we're looking at like technology sides of things, applications. So this only displays 5. If you keep clicking, you can see different technology skills, not just tools. So there are both tools and skills depending on what you click. Things that you'll need to know about. Skills that you want to have, such as active listening. Obviously, that's super important for somebody who's a counselor. Abilities that you'll need and the activities that will happen in your work. And then what your work context will look like. And from there, this talks about the type of preparation that will be necessary and the degrees that will be necessary, and there kinds of things. So for the percentage of people in this field who responded, 79% have master's degrees. So most people who work as marriage and family counselors just have a master's degree. And when I say just, that's nothing to shrug about. That's a really great accomplishment. But what I mean is only 5% of the respondents here had a doctorate. So master's degree is the most common thing that people would pursue. You can find out what might be connected to your interest here if you're a social or artistic or investigative person. And if you say, I don't know which my interest would be, take the interest profiler. And this you may have seen before. It's one of those really fun quizzes. I know some of you like them or don't like them, but I'm just going to click through. So you can say super happy face. I would love to do that task. Very unhappy face. Hate it. That looks awful. And you can click through and say, here's what I'm into. You're probably familiar with these, and you'll go all the way. That might be good for you and might be a good fit based on your interests and your skill sets. So that is what the interest profiler is, in case you want to click it. But back to the counselor, marriage and family therapist role, we're talking about work styles, values. So if these things are important to you, it might be a good fit. And then there's a column here, which is very helpful. Very interestingly, this is why most people like to use ONET. You can find information here regarding wage and employment trends. So this is information from 2020 because 2021 is not over yet. I'm going to click this. At a zip code, can do like 80111. That's kind of right outside of Denver. And I would like to know in that zip code, the wage and employment trends for this field. It'll work for us. I apologize, guys. I don't know why it's running so slowly. Okay, there it is. Excellent. So you can see, we can look at the Denver area, which is the zip code that I typed that in for. We can look at Colorado overall, and then the United States overall. So these are the averages. So you can see these top values. Apparently in the Denver-ish area, the median salary here, or the average salary, is $61,000, $61,990 exactly. And then $56,350 for Colorado. So I might say, well, that seems weird. This is a lower salary in the state than it is in the metro area. But those of you who are from the Denver area know the reason for that. And if you're not, you could probably imagine the reason for that is that cost of living around Denver is much higher than what you might encounter in like Weld County over in Greeley or Milliken. More in order to get them to come to a more expensive area. So that's probably why. But you can go through and compare different areas that are interesting to you. And here is a South Colorado non-metropolitan area versus Colorado Springs. So you can even find more specific areas in Colorado. Also good to know, I just went back to the previous page, is projected growth. You guys, this is a beautiful place to look because all of you are, you know, on the younger end preparing to move into your career fields. And so you probably want to, and I know a lot of you have a really good idea of what you want to do, but even as you're exploring within that field, or if you're looking for something in the interim, you're going to want to have a good idea of what's a hot thing to get into, what's growing, what's popular, and what's Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yikes, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Please forgive me. But we're nearly done. So anyway, I just thought you guys might like to see this. I think ONET's super cool. Again, like I said, with the bright outlook, that's kind of fun to see. So when you look down here at find occupations, you can pull down this menu and say, oh, I want to know what's a bright outlook. Hit the little arrow. And then whenever the internet works, there you go. I want to know rapid growth in a field, numerous job openings. I'm just going to say all bright outlook occupations. And this just helps me to know why is it a bright outlook. There's rapid growth and numerous job openings. I can imagine that in the healthcare field, for instance, we're seeing this acute care nurses. I think a lot of people in medical fields have gotten really burned out lately just because things have been intense. There's a lot going on. So it makes sense that that's a bright outlook. And obviously there are a lot of things that will fall into this. Let's say child, family, and school social workers. And that one is updated in 2021 as a bright outlook too. So like I said, even if you're pretty set, I know Joshua, you've expressed a lot of your career interests, which are awesome. And several of you guys have some really cool plans, but the way I see it, it never hurts to kind of browse through this and just get a feel for what it takes to do different things. And if that's not just for you, it's for somebody else, right? Like you guys can probably all think of family members or friends who aren't quite sure their next steps, and you can tell them to go to ONET because I love ONET. So what do you guys think of this site?
I think
Looks
you're
like a
probably gonna go
wonderful-
randomly look at stuff.
Are you there? Sorry. Faith, did you say something?
Yeah, I was saying, I think it's really cool. I'll probably go mess on the site at some point.
Do it.
For fun.
Do it. I love it. I hope you do. I used to work for the county as a workforce specialist a long time ago. And this was our favorite website. So I worked with a lot of people who were receiving government assistance. They were unemployed and trying to find work. And this was a favorite for them because a lot of people just don't even know where to start. Not even to look for a job in their area, but like, what do I even want to do and what's out there and what is a hot field to get into? So the reason I wanted to look at ONET on our final day of this session is just because whether you're looking at jobs in the field of psychology or not, I know that all of you guys are beginning on your journeys. You're engaging in this college coursework, which is awesome. And you have big plans and dreams and awesome callings on your lives. So my hope is that this can help you out with that. And, you know, even let's say you're working as a pastor, so you don't need ONET for yourself, but let's say you have somebody in the congregation who's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You know, this can be a resource you throw at them, along with some biblical counseling about God's provision and guidance. So those kinds of tools never hurt to kind of have in your back pocket. Cool. So with that said, we've got a couple more minutes. I want to respect all of your time. Any key takeaways or like things that you really appreciated or enjoyed or things you have more questions about or things that could be improved with the course? What do you guys have to share? Feeling good?
The biblical perspective every week and how you had us evaluate the textbook against the biblical worldview discussion. So I thought that was really good. So thank you.
Good. Well, you did an awesome job with it. And thank you. I'm so glad to hear it. That's my favorite thing about CCU is looking at all this through scripture. Because as we've talked about in class, without the biblical perspective, the field of psychology, as well as anything, is really lacking, and it doesn't give us that comprehensive model. And the spiritual side, as we know, is so integral and key for functioning and well-being. And so without that, we're missing out on the biggest part, right? Yeah. So it's a blessing. You know, if somebody is in a secular university setting, you can look at things through the biblical perspective, but you sort of have to do it in a more subtle and independent way. And it can't be a big part of your engagement in the class setting. And because that's not where the course is coming from. So it's a really cool opportunity to be able to just infuse everything with prayer and with scripture. And if it's all right with you guys, I do want to close us in prayer. Thank you for your patience with my weird computer issue, but I'm glad that I got to get y'all until the end. So Lord, thank you so much for bringing us together, for these wonderful students who have joined us today. I'm grateful for your blessing on them and on their futures. I pray for their next steps, that you would give them guidance, peace, courage, confidence, and physical and emotional health and well-being, and just show them the path that you have laid out for them, God, and how they can be a resource and a light to others as well as they grow closer to you. I just pray your blessing over their lives, their careers, their educational paths, and I thank you for all of their hard work this semester. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. Good job. And keep in touch, okay? If you got any questions, we've still got several days, so keep up the good work. Okay, bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Vic.
you so much.
Of course, good job. Good job. Take care.